Hello and welcome to the first game of the finals of ESL's 7th NA weekly tournament. This game is between DaDoksinX, who is up here in the purple as the Marines, and Dullahan, who is down here as the Orcs in this red and teal colours. So, having a quick look at their heroes, we can see a interesting combination coming out here from Dullahan. The Gorguts makes entire sense, entirely normal nowadays in the meta. There's a lot of big blobs of ranged units, a lot of heavy troops coming out, those Devastators, the Dark Reapers and the Looters, so the Gorguts' swing ability really good. Big Mech Quasmacker is someone who I actually personally haven't seen as much, but has been taken off, especially in team games actually, from what I've heard from the people I know, but has been talked about as being useful. And then we have the Mad Dread, which is a very interesting extra point. It has that war buff, which does make sense, as watching a lot of Dullahan's game, he does like to base his game a lot around that war tower, which we can see going off here as we might be getting our first engagement. As I switch over to DaDoksinX's colours to see what he's playing, he's actually having some Marines being caught up in melee here. He dropped these drop pods actually on one of the shooter squads in the back, which doesn't seem to have done much work, but the banner coming down is going to give them some good defense. However, that one squad at the back is low and is having Orcs get on it. They are trying to run away, but that last guy is entirely surrounded. Shooter's going to come back in here, and Orcs are now going to have every unit of Marines in melee, so they're going to have to get out of there. I apologise also if I sound a little bit rough. My throat is slightly sore right now. But as this first fight ends, very interesting actually, DaDoksinX taking a very fast elite point right in the middle of the map. This is a sort of risk which I'm not sure how much it will work out in the end, but he has a sort of typical, if not sort of strangely solo QE sort of build, where he has this Imperial Knight Solara in there, which I've said many times, I don't think the high point units will be good once the game is properly worked out. Or they won't be good. They may be good eventually, but I don't think they should be picked. But it does give you, in solo queue and in sort of open tournaments like this, a good way to safely end the game. They could be a sort of powerful finisher, as these Marines walk up onto this high ground quite dangerously. They are going to get some fire from the listening post, but they're just taking free damage here. I'm not sure what this is sort of trying to achieve. We've got some Marines just sort of throwing themselves away here. It looks like this squad won't get away. What was that? I'm so confused here, boys. I am so confused. I don't even know what that is. So a fast Arsenal is going down from DaDoksinX now. This suggests that he's going to be going heavily into this spam tack style, and you can see he's only made tacks so far, so that is making sense. Already lost 2 squads of them though, however, before he even gets his Iron Maw out. Although, seeing as Quasmacker and Gorguts are the lowest heroes from the Orcs, he will be able to get the kill team out before any of these Orcs come out, and that looks like that is them coming down there. So he gets the Flamer nice and quickly, gets a good shot with the regular Flamer onto those Orcs who are attacking that, and that looks like 2 squads of boys will get taken down there. Very unfortunately there for Dullahan. Dullahan left his troops in the flamethrower there for a bit too long. Took a lot of damage. They do a lot of damage very quickly, to be fair. But the War Tower is going to take them away. The Daka Hut going to be getting out some looters soon, and that should essentially swing the power back in Dullahan's favour. Right now that he has the Arsenal upgrades coming down, so he can get a Flamers out. He has the kill team out. The onus of power is really on the Marine side, whereas once they get a couple of squads of looters out, which you can see the first one going there, something is going to have to happen to change this. Either there's going to have to be some good micro and looters are going to have to get caught out by a flamethrower, or there's going to need to be a response in either the terms probably of assault marines or of devastators as a heavy weapons infantry from the marine side themselves. A couple of stick grenades thrown down there. The looters will also make taking these defended points much easier. And the kill team is actually just trying to make their play, and they actually got the flamer down the side, who's going to do a lot of damage to these looters. Take it down to one model. That's really put the marines into the better position there. The looter from the top of the hill will be pretty dangerous, but it's only a single model, so his damage is heavily reduced. So Marines having a very good position right now. Has essentially the whole map, only 1 point allowed to the Orcs. He doesn't actually have a huge resource advantage, although if it stays like this, he's going to be getting a lot more power than the Orc player. And he has these two entrenched positions up close with the listening posts and with the heavy cover up here. But we're going to see a catapult go down onto these Marines. The Orcs are in there and pushing some damage, and the Orcs now have the high ground essentially. These the kill team is going to have to run up onto the high ground. He's going to get taken out. A bit of damage done with that flamer, but not enough. This looter in a really bad position is actually getting close enough to the listening power to get shot from there. But these Orcs are finding that these new buffed Marines actually can hold their own in melee combat, especially when there are two of them versus the one Orcs, and one of them are actually ranged now. But he's thrown some in there. He actually walked his boys out of the portal, or did they just get shunted out of the portal because they aren't melee? I believe that can happen. Flamethrower there. Got the grenade off to cancel it, but not really fast enough. That flamer does a lot of damage very quickly. Very powerful tool. And the Marines are going to clear out that attack, but they are going to have to retreat now, moving back to this Doctrine Chapel, which will probably be making some Devastators here. Or making some Devastators very soon. As soon as he has the requisition. Interesting that he is choosing to go the old style of taking very few requisition. He took those early requisition and then has not taken any more, which suggests that he wants to get to a quick level 2 and start making tanks, although the Doctrine Chapel doesn't exactly support that. He has not even started his level 2 upgrade. He doesn't have the power for it yet. The Arsenal and upgrading flamers, of course, does slow that down, but does give you a lot of power early. So Orcs are now slowly getting back into this. They have the pile of guns themselves, so they can start upgrading as well. Getting some of the truck upgrades, actually. I didn't get to watch much Orcs before the patch, because a lot of the Orc players didn't get very far and didn't play in as many tournaments as they felt like their race was the weakest. But we have the boy Gorguts now. Gorguts, very powerful. What was my favourite hero at the beginning has come back to being my favourite hero. He can really do some power. Gets the stun in there on those boys, the Marines with the flamer, and is actually now going to swing. And this will protect these Orcs from the listening post and from anything else. Devastator comes down on this top and starts shooting off. He could be spinning and just keeping these Orcs alive, keeping them all safe. He's going to be hitting a lot of damage onto this listening post and will take it out. We will have to check, once this is done, how far ahead this listening post actually got DaDoksin in terms of power, and see if this was worth it. We have 3 points of power on the Orc side, and we have 0... We have 0 on the Orc side and 3 points of power on the Marine side. I forgot I was already on the Marine side. So 3 points of power. That's decent. That's not enough to get any of the heroes that DaDoksin is looking for, but he will have his Gabriel very soon after the Gorguts came down. So he almost you could say he essentially got his kill team as a 1 point elite, maybe, which is pretty good. I'm still not sure of how good that is as a play, but as you can see, this high ground is now being just heavily taken by these Orcs. I think DaDoksin was playing quite far up for how little requisition he's been taking in the early game, and the Orcs can just, with that small amount of requisition, just pump out troops. very cheap troops that, when they get massed, can be very powerful. He's got some looters over here. He's got the big horde of boys, and he has Gorguts, which just, you know, can keep them alive from so much fire early and get them into a position where they can be fighting. Gabriel is now available to come out, but the middle of the map has almost entirely fallen. Boys getting thrown up onto this high ground are going to realise soon that there is nothing to worry about, but Gabriel is coming in on the back, getting a fight with Gorguts. The Blackwatch... Blackwatch? I don't know why I call them Blackwatch. I think they are Blackwatch, aren't they? I don't know, I can't remember. I'm not super good with the law. Kill Team Ironmore are going to be getting in here. They're going to, with their rocket launcher, actually do a lot of damage to this truck. They need to get taken out pretty quickly. They are going to get hit with a grenade there, which probably will save the truck, but they're now really clumped up for Gabriel to get in there. The spin there used out of your boy Gorguts not very well, honestly. He sort of didn't stop much damage from there with it. He's now going to run in with Gorguts on his own, which is an interesting choice. I'm not sure, even as badass as Gorguts is, he can fight all of that on his own, so he's going to stumble out of there now. He has a couple of looters back here to provide covering fire, but as you can see, the rest of his army is very lit up over here. And he has taken this point himself, which means that both of our players are believing that as long as you hold this middle point, you should try and get that elite point generator out there. But here we have the requisition being sunk. We're getting a war going to come up, and this is going to be a big aggressive push with this war. Might be able to take out one of these shield generators in itself. And annoyingly, he's been an absolute nerd and placed his buildings, so I can't see the speakers going. Come on, just let me have those south-facing turrets, please. And he's actually going to push onto the other points on this side, which is good. Some players can get too sort of too focused on the idea that you have to push objectives, and will just push down one side while their enemy is still getting a large advantage in terms of economy. Another I'd say bad swing there coming from Gorguts. He's now behind enemy lines, not countering any bullets. He's walking slowly. Gabriel is in the back line on his looters, but hitting the generator there, actually not doing a huge amount of help. Oh, but we have a Deathstorm here, and Deathstorm is incredibly powerful. It's been dropped right in the middle of this Orc force, and these Orcs are going to have to now entirely split. They do have tank busters, but one squad of tank busters is not going to take this down very quickly, so his army is going to have to just split. Dullahan has done a decent job of getting people away from it. It looks like only Gorguts now being focused, but Gorguts does want to move away. This listening post is going to go down. That opens up the map even more for Dullahan, but he needs to be careful. If he loses any of his army, that will give the Marines a prime time to come back, especially seeing as they have got their first whirlwind out on the field. And now, all this I've been saying about them not really taking advantage of the possibility of having far more requisition to get this powerful early game with a lot of bolters, they have now got the whirlwind out, which is the sort of answer to that, which is the way that I would assume he was going by going for that heavy power thing, is into tanks as soon as possible. He is going to, with the stun from his boy, manage to catch that Marine. Once again, I don't really know why he's spinning there. I guess just for the AoE damage, but is it really that great? It's true damage, I guess. True damage is kind of cool. It doesn't really give you any information on how much damage it does, though. But hell, he didn't block anything with it, but it's okay. Actually, he does true damage anyway, so But hey, Dullahan's in a good position here, even if I'm not sure about his Gorguts use. It has been good enough. There has not been a ton of the sort of normal meta stuff that Gorguts would be super useful against. I'm talking about big blobs of Marines and a lot of Devastators. Now, 2 Whirlwinds, I am not sure about. 2 Whirlwinds I have seen a lot of people get. I have got. I don't think it is necessarily bad. I think any more than 2 Whirlwinds is bad. If he makes more than 2 Whirlwinds, I'm really gonna be not sure about this guy's play. But 2 Whirlwinds is sort of the prime way to use this in a way that can can get you a big advantage against these sort of big blobby armies. If Dullahan stacks up a load of boys and runs for one of these generators, the whirlwinds can put them back, but they are very defensive, and so they're not going to be able to retake this map for DaDoksin. And basically the reason you get these is to defend against these possible huge blobby armies that could come at you if you have lost the early game, to push damage onto turrets which you don't quite have enough to push if you have won the early game. And it is also it's basically just a way to hold off until you can get to that third phase, and you can get predators, because obviously they are the big late game that is just going to win you the game. So we have las cannons coming down. We haven't actually seen any mech out of the orc yet, and then we do see that the mech bay is down here, but he hasn't made anything from it, so not sure if las cannon team is the best choice, but I assume he is just predicting that there will be mech. Gorguts is pushing down here. He is now sort of putting his swing up against a load of dudes, but oh my lord, this is the whirlwind right there. The whirlwind really, really thinning out that force, and now the orcs are gonna have to retreat. And Gorguts is still just pushing on his own. These las cannons are not gonna do that great to Gorguts, I don't think. Yeah, he has normal armor, so they're not really going to do anything. But they have still taken out this side. They're going to have to back because of the whirlwind. But actually, the reinforce from the truck is pretty strong, dude. That's pretty nuts. And your boys are going to move around to assault again. So they can basically just swap sides, do some of this damage there. We're going to get the repair on there. And these whirlwinds are coming out. Now, whirlwinds are incredibly fragile. Incredibly fragile. 600 armor. And he has made a third whirlwind. Is he actually just massing whirlwinds? What the hell? What is this? Is he really just going to try and hit that long range shot? So the reason that I don't think this is good is because, you know, if you just use all your whirlwinds and he doesn't stack his army up, so he doesn't take big army destroying hits, you then use all your whirlwind shots and then you just have nothing and he walks over you. Gabriel is back. That's nice. That gives him a sort of front line to hold off any pushes, but DaDoksin isn't doing anything which pushes him towards winning the game here, unless his plan is legitly just to use whirlwinds to clear the blob, use las cannons to kill any tanks, trucks or anything, any death dreads that come at him, any of these little killer cans that we are seeing waddling about now, and then just wait until Imperial Knight Slayer to win. But against a player as good as Dullahan, I don't think that's going to work. Dullahan is going to force his way in there. He's not going to get hit by these huge whirlwind hits, I hope. And he is just eventually going to win. So he's got tank busters. He's got some looters out front. He's doing a good job so far of keeping his army split. The Gorguts has gone in there, and he is now just tanking up fire to let his soldiers get in there. One whirlwind shot down, dealing with the orcs. He has one more whirlwind shot for this fight. Gorguts just being a nuisance, just tanking stuff up so they can try and kill this. I really would have liked to see some orcs jumped in there to kill this servitor. These guys are now scarily clumped up, seeing as he knows he's playing against whirlwinds, but I assume he might not think there's another one up, because, you know, I don't think it's incredibly normal to see this many. Another whirlwind does go down, does hit, but once again, only one squad really. So these incredibly expensive whirlwinds are just weakening a squad at a time. And he now has no whirlwind shots, right? He has no whirlwind shots. So his army now should just lose. I mean, he did do a lot of damage, so he might actually still be able to hold this off. But that is my problem with this. He has a Devastator here who are actually doing a ton of work against this normal army, that he hasn't realised now that there isn't a huge amount of mech and that Devastators will just be better. Gabriel getting hit pretty hard here. He's got those looters on him. A lot of stuff escaping just on low health here for the Orcs. Stick bomb going to hit there right on Gabriel. Another whirlwind shot going down. And he does have a few more whirlwinds there. Is these not showing right? Or has he actually got 2 of them back already? I'm not sure. But you can see this Orc army still going strong, still hitting pretty hard. He is going to lose the truck, which is a big move for the Marine player. And he's going to be pushing up more into the ship generator, which has managed to regen its shield. So he's really been pushed back here. But Gabriel is dead. Kill team is dead. A whiffed whirlwind shot goes down there. So whirlwinds do maybe rethinking a bit faster than I thought. But you see what I mean? I feel like if one of those was a whirlwind and the other 2 had gone into getting, you know, some slightly more active units, could be a bit more useful. But he hasn't made another whirlwind. He still hasn't got tier 3 yet, so he's not getting any way to end the game. He's getting a death storm, we can see in here. We can't see what's in the other one, unfortunately, because of the replay UI. But we can see that he's just holding up quite a defensive way here, and he's halfway to Solaire, so he's got a long way to go if his plan is actually just to hold out until Solaire. My apologies, I am slightly ill as I record this. But once again, goddamn nerd that Dullahan is, he's placed the turret in a way that means I can't see the awesome change in animation there. I'm just looking at the arse of the tower. But he's actually made a Death Copper, this is actually the first time I've ever seen a Death Copper in a 1v1 game. Normally these things are much more prevalent in team games, and he's actually just going to run up and die. But we have this main fight here now coming out, and we have the Mad Dread as well. Oh my lord, I haven't seen one of these in action either, really. Not in a proper 1v1, and he's actually just going to go straight into here. This is excellent. Is this why he takes it? Is it a counter pick to these? Because you can see this guy actually just one-hits these things. And, I mean, 3 last cannon teams, and he's not being microed, unfortunately, so he is going to get a bit wrecked here. But I mean, that's crazy. He actually just one-hits whirlwinds, and this is why you see whirlwinds aren't that good, because you know, they managed to get Sank on the backline to do a ton of damage to them, and now he's just lost a side. You know, this Dreadnought is getting a ton done allied with this turret, and so the Orc player is probably going to have to back off here. It does look like he did lose his Mad Dread there, and this attack has gone horribly sour with that Dreadnought. That is great. Seeing them actually get one hit. Holy moly, I was not ready for that. This Death Storm as well is going to make it really hard for them to retreat, because they're going to take a ton of damage as they leave. But a couple of Orcs, one Orc getting out there at least. Another squad going to get out. I'm not sure Gorgas will survive. He might just get out. He has a couple hundred health. That guy's got a big health bar. He's doing alright. But the Dreadnought, this is much scarier, although he doesn't have anything else backing him up. He actually has a lot of stuff just sitting at home still. He's really not been on top of controlling all of his units here in this game, unfortunately. So the Dreadnought and some Last Cannon and Bolter Devastators are going to hit up this point. Last Cannon's going to start to do a lot of damage, take us out pretty quickly, but they've got some Tank Busters here countering the Dreadnought, which is a pretty nice move. Scouts up here, getting some vision. Scouts being pretty underutilized, I feel, by some players now. Actually running through the Whirlwind, which isn't the best idea, but he doesn't take too much damage. And now that it's down to one Whirlwind, and he knows this, he knows that there is no more Whirlwind fire, so he can go in hard. He has the Death Copter coming with him. He has this Death Grid, and he sees the drop and does back off. Kill team are down. Probably going to get that rocket launcher as soon as possible, and he's just going to back up. He's already won enough from that, he thinks. He's putting a War Tower further down. Going to try and make up that tech. Oh, yes. I hope he was with this tower eventually. He forgot to turn that thing around. But look, he has turned this one around as well. He has another one here looking down as well. But these aren't ones he's going to war with, unfortunately. But these generators are all going to go down eventually, and we have got to a point here actually where the Marines have been holding this side of the map for so long. That's going to give them quite a bit of a resource advantage, and the Orcs haven't been taking that as well as they should have. Both players doing pretty good with their macro even, not getting too high with the money. So that's a plus for both players. That even with the micro mistakes and some of the decision mistakes that these players have been making, the Gorgut's use, these units not doing anything, stuff like that, that is made up for a lot by the fact that their macro has been well. Here's actually an interesting thing. I don't know why the rock was used, but the scouts have now just picked it up, and they're just gonna get murdered here. Holy moly! Oh, he's gonna put it on a death chopper. That's a smart idea. So he can just move it across the map really quickly. These scouts, however, actually did a really good job of keeping it away from his base. Actually going to just entirely make that useless. That would have been a really nice play there by Dullahan if it hadn't been for that. So the Devastators up here are going to do a lot of work unless he sees them and goes on to them. Going to be doing a lot of damage. We're also getting a drop pod down into here, which I believe will be... Oh, it's the Death Storm, yeah? That's going to be really bad, but it's going to just get absolutely demolished really quickly. There are las cannons now hitting this Death Dread, which is not nice for that. That's going to go down real soon. And the Whirlwind has got up to hit this. The spin there, much better by Gorguts, but it will just get taken down by Gabe. His army is so low, he needs to just leave this here. He just needs to get these guys out of here and get them reinforced. This has ended up going really badly. He's been sitting in a lot of fire in this fight. And right now, DaDoksinX has... big money advantage. You can see by the corpses down here that, and the health of the Whirlwind as well, that he really went for trying to take out that Whirlwind. Because, even as much as I've been saying, I think they were too heavily expended in here by DaDoksinX. They have clearly proven to be useful. Oh, he's moved out those units that he had AFK. He found them. He added them to a hotkey. Perhaps he has the bottom bar of units turned off, although I think it's a super useful feature for a game like this where you normally have quite small armies. The Orcs one actually doesn't look as big as you think. There's a lot more units per squad than just lots of squads. So Gorgut's actually walking up here. He's using the big swing, and this is holding up a lot. He's not defending much else than himself, and he actually just walked into the banner there. So he sort of, again, wasted that before the fight started. But the army is now wired up and so can go in. Warbus has thrown away some of his health, but the fight will start now. A good jump down there on the kill team. Although there is going to be a drop here. That's going to be a Dreadnought. That's going to be really annoying to deal with, but these tank busters are straight on it. Decent focus coming in there. He really should want to split them up more, or something like that will happen and he'll just get entirely slammed on. These last cannons are powering up. They don't actually have anything that great to hit, but they are now dealing their full amount of armor-piercing damage, which does end up being alright against anything. And these Orcs are pushed back once again. We do have a big track super weapon out here, actually, which is kind of cool. I like these things. I think they're really cool looking, even though they might not be quite strong enough for their late game purpose. But we haven't seen enough of them really to know that. A couple people have said that they think that, but I'm not too sure if that's entirely correct. Just a good amount of damage. But we can see these tank busters, now all that the Orcs have really is their main force, aren't going to do very good here. I actually get a load of shots fired back at them. But here we have now the Mad Dread is back, dealing some big damage. But with so many last cannons, this Mad Dread actually isn't really going to have the best time. He has huge DPS, but he has to get in there, which means the las cannons can be microed quite effectively against him. And the fact that he's just having to sit here in the middle of the las cannons is really bad for him. Tank busters also not good for clearing these up. He's been hit by another Whirlwind with his bunched up Orcs, and this Mad Dread is just being made almost useless here with how much damage he was taking. He's managed to save it just on a tiny bit of health, which it was done alright. But he hasn't done anything to this army. He needs to be able to kill these Devastator squads. These Devastator squads just have been able to sit at the back of every fight and not do anything. There are some coppers in here, but once again, not doing much. I really want to see these be useful, but I just don't think they are, really. They're annoying, but, you know, decent player will just get them killed real easy. And there are so many Devastators now. I really want to see a good Gorgut spin and some good anti-infantry. And this Orc army doesn't actually have a lot to deal with the infantry. It's mostly tank busters, which against sort of the more traditional late game Terran play is great. But we're actually going to see the Imperial Knight Solaire here, which is, you know, incredibly strange coming out here for a 1v1 game. It has got to 30 minutes now. This has been a crawl of a game with Dullahan just not being able to fight back against the Marines. He's just not been able to push this. The Marine player has just had such a stranglehold on this game with that defensive setup of last cannons and the Whirlwind. And now the Imperial Knight, the Imperial Knight does suddenly actually make all these tank busters useful, which in a way is kind of a nice thing for Dullahan. You see how quickly Dullahan kills that Dreadnought. This army composition he's used is clearly meant to be playing against the more sort of bite crushy style of Marines, where it's just get to late game and then Dreadnought Predator is your whole army. But you know, as I've been saying here about, I don't think the Imperial Knight is a good pick. This is what the Imperial Knight is good for, is that just late game finisher. And I think if used correctly, if controlled right, although he is taking a lot of damage from this Wabzapper there, I think this is actually Wazmaka, not Wapsaka, Wazmaka. I think this is actually, I mean, I'm trying to say that this should be the end. Once you've got an Imperial Knight out, you're not going to be able to stop it. But the Imperial Knight has just sat there under Wazmaka's, is it the tractor beam? Is it tractor beam that does damage? Yeah, it is the tractor beam. And with the huge melee DPS of the Madred, and he just got taken out. That is not what's meant to happen with an Imperial Knight. But, you know, that is, you know, one of the reasons why it's not so good. You wait this long and you pin your hopes of winning on that, and now you got 500 seconds till it comes back. And I mean, he's shown that he can keep this army alive, keep himself alive without it. But now you've got the position again for the Orcs, where the tank busters once again not doing very good. He's taken out a Whirlwind there, and the second one was actually get a really good hit onto these tank busters. But he needs to get stuff to take out this infantry. Oh, this is dead. This is dead. Got stunned there. Bop. By the big mad dread. Holy moly, that's crazy good. And now we do see the first Predator out. But now you're in this sort of unfortunate position that you have to go into Predators kind of late, because you relied so much on having that Imperial Knight be your finisher. And yeah, it's just not going to happen. You're now giving yourself into the mass tank busters. He did take out a few there, and I'm sure he will be getting less and less tank busters as he's realized that they've stopped being super helpful. But as soon as he sees a Predator, he can just go, oh great, back into tank busters, and everything's good. So he's pushing down this side of the map now, which has been quite a safe spot for Marines for quite a while. Spin, I would say once again misused, but it is at least stopping the listening post from getting some good damage off. The Marines are now coming through and are going to waste some shots into the spin. Devastators are going to start doing a lot of damage now it's out though, but it looks like he's going to burrow up under these guys. He's going to get the jump in and the stun with Gorguts, and Gorguts and the Madred are now quite a deadly combo getting into the line, but there's just more Devastators. This army has been allowed to build up, and because there's been such a focus on anti-tank from the Orcs, they have just not been taken down, been chipped down at all. And now Gabriel is coming in. Lots of slows and stuns going down there on Gorguts to keep him down. The tractor beam from the Wazmaka is coming in doing some damage. Gorguts is going to go down, and now the Madred is scared for its life because there are so many last cannons coming out there. Quite a lot of damage done to Gabriel, but now Wazmaka will be knocked down, and a lot of the Orcs have just been suicided into this listening post, and now the banner is going to go down. This is going to make this an entire win for the Marines. They're going to push all of the Orcs off of here. You've got another Death Dread coming up. Going to try and get something off here. The Death Dread is actually charging in to the backline. Holy moly. But now he's just going to be focused on his own by all of these troops and is not going to survive long. Right up in front of that Predator. That was quite a naggy move there. The Knobs getting right onto it. The knock up from the Madred, and then the taunt to keep everything in nice and close so he can get all of his melee DPS off. Big hit there on the Predator. The rocks are coming down. Is that rocks? No, that's just one of the turrets from Wazmaka and a whirlwind shot, which looked to me like rocks a little bit there. Gabriel is still doing his thing though on the back line. Very powerful, was just this big disabler tank. Wazmaka will go down. So now we're just the Madred alive for the Orcs, and just Gabriel alive for these Marines. We have the tank buster squads here, still quite strong. Orcs scrapping up, getting ready. Knobs going back to reinforce. Madred going to get some health. And this now has just been a game of attrition from DaDoksinX. As a watcher of this game, I very much hope that this does not turn out to be too much of a strong style, because it does just feel like Dullahan has been throwing himself into a brick wall this whole game, and there's a lot of things Dullahan could have done better to get some better engagements off. His composition could have been better. He could have got some better setups off, taken some less damage from opportune sources. But now once again, we're seeing he's got the Deathcopter rolling in and dying, as Deathcopters seem to do so often, in my experience. He has all of these tank busters, which aren't getting to hit much tanks. They are going to take out this Predator, which is a good start. But the Madred is going to go down on the other side. And Gabriel is actually back in base, entirely untouched. So now we have the boys and the Knobs, who should scare off a lot of these last cannons. But he's actually, I think he's not splitting his army well enough. He's having these situations where a lot of boys go on one squad, whereas he should have a squad of boys over here forcing these guys into melee range, and then a squad of boys up here and a squad of boys over here. They are back in front of the Death Swarm now, but now he's getting hit by a whirlwind, and the Death Swarm is blocking his path of retreat, and that's going to be his whole army done. And this should definitely be the end of the game here now. DaDoksinX just going to be able to push right into the Orc base, and there we go. He is going to surrender. A very long game of Dullahan versus DaDoksinX, and a very defensive style shown there by DaDoksinX.